Hey guys, so for today, for our reading ELA, we're going to start off by looking at our focus question here. And the focus question asks, why are the author's notes at the end of both The Earth Dragon Awakes and Seek the Sun important? So we're going to go back and do a close read of the author's notes at the end of The Earth Dragon Awakes, and then we're going to go back and do a close read of the author's notes at the end of Seek the Sun. And we're going to talk about why they're important to the stories that we read. So let's start with The Earth Dragon Awakes. I'll make it a little bigger. Let's listen.
As I mentioned in the preface, Chin, Henry, and their families and friends are imaginary. However, the details about the earthquake and fires are based on facts. Animals were nervous before the earthquake. Afterward, horses and cattle stampeded, and a panicked bull was shot in Portsmouth Square by a policeman. After the earthquake, people saved the oddest things. That included a wedding cake. At least 2 Chinese junks took away passengers. In the refugee camp near Fort Mason, an Italian man held up a picture of St. Francis. People also stopped a runaway horse by flapping umbrellas at it. My description of the night before the earthquake is also based on facts. Enrico Caruso sang in an opera. There was also a roller skating carnival. The best costume really did win $1,000. I have personal connections to the earthquake as well. Like Ah Sing, my grandfather was a houseboy. He had gone home to visit his family in China. He returned to America on April 19, 1906. In those days, Chinese landed at the pier of the Pacific Mail Steamship Line. They were then kept in a building. Immigration officials would question them there. However, on Thursday, April 19th, the Great Fire threatened the entire waterfront. My grandfather probably landed on Angel Island instead, where he was detained until April 26th. It would have been his first encounter with Angel Island. He would come to know it well. In later years, immigrants arrived there from China. One of them was my father. I have also experienced many earthquakes in San Francisco. On March 22, 1957, an earthquake hit the city that registered 5.3 on the Richter scale. It was enough to shake our school. I wrote a science fiction story based on that memory. It was the first story I ever sold.
Okay, so we see here that the author's note includes a lot about how the things that happened in this story, The Earth Dragon Awakes, were actually things that happened in real life. So while the author says here that Chin and Henry and their families are imaginary, but a lot of the things that we read about throughout the book were real, and they told facts about what actually happened during that awful earthquake. All right, let's go to the author's notes at the end of Seek the Sun now. See what we learn there.
This story was inspired by an actual court case in Japan, brought by an 80-year-old sandal maker, Koji Watanabe, and 3 of his neighbors in Asakusa, an area in Tokyo known for its famous Buddhist temple and traditional old-style neighborhoods. Today in Japan, when tall buildings are constructed, the amount of shadow that can fall on nearby buildings is limited by law. In new homes, the law requires that sunlight shine in a family's living room for a certain number of hours each day.
Okay, so we see here from the notes that even though the story Seek the Sun was also based on real people, the people in the story weren't real. It was just inspired by an actual court case. So similar to what we read about here in The Earth Dragon, we see that they're both based on facts or actual things that happened in history. So I think that the author's notes are important because they teach us that they're actually based on actual events that happened in history.